Boston Red Sox, the soul of Fenway, the beating heart of Boston, dark sky above the Charles River. Mist rolls along bridges and brick facades. A voice resonates with the calm of a winter evening. Every city has its beating heart. In Boston, it beats where grass and brick meet. The city and the game Boston is older than the nation that birthed it. A city of harbors, universities, textile, and 12 months of weathered struggle, of revolutions in thought and in streets. Its citizens speak faster, think harder, forgive slowly, but love deeply. And precisely for that reason, they cling to a game that is long, obstinate, and unpredictable. Baseball, sung to the rhythm of the seasons, where patience is worth as much as talent. Where mistakes are merciless yet instructive. Fenway Park became their place of pilgrimage. Brick, wood, steel. Built in 1912, older than nearly all its fans. In no other ballpark do the stands sit so close to history itself. The smell of peanut shells, beer, warm asphalt in the summer. The sound of the 8th inning, Sweet Carolyn ending with 10,000 voices. So good, so good, so good. For Boston, baseball has never been pure entertainment. It is heritage, a shared memory spanning generations. From grandfather to grandchild, from immigrant neighborhood to Ivy League campus. And that memory begins in a time when the nation was still learning what sport could mean. Founding Fenway, 1901 to 1918, where the game met its first perfection. The Boston Americans. The beginning, 1901. In 1901, the American League was born as challenger to the mighty National League. Boston once again received a team, the Boston Americans. They played at Huntington Avenue grounds, a wooden ballpark wedged between factories and houses. The stands were simple, but the hunger for the game immense. The first fans were workers and immigrants from Ireland and Italy. Men who toiled long shifts in textile mills and, on Saturday afternoons, found their only freedom in 9 innings of noise. Boston instantly earned respect, fighting hockey, but on grass. The team played with grim discipline and the conviction that winning was a matter of work ethic. The first World Series, 1903. It became America's first major sports final. Pittsburgh Pirates versus Boston Americans, best of 9. The opponents had Ty Cobb and arsenals of hitting power. Boston had Cy Young, composure, and precision. After 2 weeks of battle, Boston won 5 games to 3. Newspapers called it a gentleman's war fought with wooden swords. The city gathered itself around the idea that this was their game. The Americans existed only 2 years, yet Boston already possessed its first world title, from Americans to Red Sox. When new teams entered the city, confusion loomed. In 1908, the franchise chose its permanent name, bold and simple, Boston Red Sox. For the Red Stockings fans already used to recognize their players, the name sounded common, easy to remember, and immediately iconic. Within a few years, it was a household word, the Sox. In local taverns, people whispered about our boys in red. 4 years later, that name would gain a home that would last forever. Fenway Park, the baptism of sacred ground, 1912. Architect James McLaughlin built the park in the heart of the Fenway-Kenmore district. On April 20th, 1912, the same week the Titanic sank in the icy sea, his creation opened its gates. Steel beams, green walls, 27,000 seats. The first game ended in victory over the New York Highlanders, the club that would later become the Yankees. A rivalry was born immediately. Not over money or geography, but over culture. Boston, proud and pastoral. New York, loud and modern. The Green Monster, the 11-meter-high wall in left field, was a phenomenon from day one. Balls ricocheted back as if the past refused to let them escape. Children pressed their hands to it, sensing this was not a building but a living creature. Fenway became not a stadium, but a sanctuary. The arrival of Babe Ruth, the boy of wonder. In 1914, owner Joseph Lannon signed a young pitcher from the Baltimore Orioles of the minor leagues. His name, George Herman Babe Ruth. A gentle boy from an orphanage, teased for his accent and frame, he turned out to be more than a pitcher. His swing, fast, heavy, unpredictable, changed the game. He hit home runs in an era when others dreamed only of singles. Fenway's wooden bleachers groaned under the weight of each crack of his bat. With Ruth, Smokey Joe Wood, and Tris Speaker, Boston became irresistible. The first dynasty, 1912 to 1918, Boston captured 4 World Series in 6 years, 1912, 1915, 1916, and 1918. The Red Sox stood at the center of the sports world. Their players became newspaper heroes, men with leather gloves, slick hair, and the arrogant smile of champions. In factories, workers paused for every faint echo of a home run. Cheer rolling across the city. Fenway meant to the people of Boston what Kennedy would later mean to politics: proof that someone from this city could command the world. 1918, the last before darkness, October 1918. Amid a world war and influenza pandemic, the Red Sox win again, their 5th title. No one knew it would be the last for 86 years. After the season, the club fell into financial trouble. By then, Ruth was the biggest star in America, demanding a raise. The owners said no. In 1919, owner Harry Frazee sold him to their rival, the New York Yankees. At first, Boston laughed it off. It's fine. We win with teams, not heroes. But the echo of that decision would reverberate for nearly a century. Coincidence. As Ruth's first home runs thundered through Yankee Stadium, Boston realized it had lost more than a player. It had sold away its aura. Fenway stayed the same, but the air above it felt heavier, a void few could name. Many said Boston would never win again until it forgot what it mourned. Others gave it a name: the Curse of the Bambino. Epilogue of the old-time Moy. Black and white footage of players from the 1910s fades into Fenway Green. A voice echoes, "Greatness came early here, but Boston is a city that learns through waiting." The ground where Babe Ruth once stood remains sacred. Because in baseball, as in cities, every blessing is merely a promise of future pain. The Curse of the Bambino, 1919 to 1945. When glory became a ghost. Some curses aren't born in storms, they begin with a handshake and a sale. The sale that stopped time. In December 1919, theater producer and opportunist Harry Frazee, owner of the Red Sox, signed the contract that sent Babe Ruth to New York. The price, $125,000 in cash and a $300,000 loan. The reason, debt, Broadway ambitions, and an inability to grasp the genius inside Ruth. Boston didn't just lose a player, it lost its light source. Ruth's departure shifted the power of baseball from Fenway Park to Yankee Stadium. What had once been called the hub of the universe suddenly felt provincial. When Ruth hit 54 home runs in 1920 and carried the Yankees toward their first stardom, the Boston Globe wrote, "A deal that has drained the soul of a city." The city tried to laugh it off, yet deep down everyone knew something unseen had turned against them. The birth of a myth. Boston is a city steeped in superstition. From Irish Catholic traditions to Italian crosses on rearview mirrors, the supernatural lives in daily habit. By the early 1920s, word spread, Frazee had sold more than a player. He'd sold his soul. Fenway was cursed by Ruth's anger. The baseball itself no longer bounced the same on Boston grass. The phrase, "the curse of the Bambino," would appear decades later, but its shadow was already there. The conviction that the Red Sox would never again be free of the sin of betrayal. The years of silence, 1920 to 1939, the next 20 years were barren ground. While Ruth's home runs echoed through New York, Boston's energy and attendance withered. Season after season, the Red Sox sat near the bottom. Fenway aged, paint chipped, seats creaked. The world around them transformed. The Roaring Twenties, the 1929 crash, then the Great Depression. Unemployment seeped through neighborhoods. Still, some kept coming, sitting on wooden benches with bags of peanuts, listening to radio voices that offered melancholy more than statistics. Fenway stayed open, more church than stadium, a place where even without hope, belief itself was the purpose. The fans change, the city does not. In those years, a new kind of Boston fan was born, loyal yet irritable, analytical, never fully satisfied. They knew losing by heart but demanded understanding, effort, and authenticity. It was as though every fan became a coach. That mindset would, generations later, be called Red Sox Nation, a cult of unconditional devotion in which sorrow became part of the pleasure. New light, Tom Yawkey and the rebuild. In 1933, a young millionaire, Tom Yawkey, bought the club. His family's fortune came from southern timberlands. He was 30 years old, passionate, determined to restore Boston's pride. Yawkey poured his own money into refurbishing Fenway, new grandstands, fresh paint, steel instead of wood. The walls gleamed green once more. He bought players, funded training schools, reorganized scouting. Slowly, hope returned. Names like Lefty Grove, Jimmy Fox, Joe Cronin brought applause back, though applause tinged with homesick longing. Arrival of an icon, Ted Williams, 1939. And then he arrived, a 20-year-old from San Diego, tall, lean, with eyes as sharp as his swing. Ted Williams. He called himself the greatest hitter who ever lived. And proof came quickly. In 1941, Williams would hit .406 for an entire season, a batting average never equaled again. His swing was mathematics made visible. Each home run sounded like an answer to years of loss. Each contact reminded Fenway what greatness looked like: war and sacrifice. When World War II began, Williams did something few superstars dared. He enlisted, a Marine Corps pilot. He left behind millions in salary and applause. Fenway mourned, but understood. "That's Boston," said one fan. "We work when others rest. We fight when others play." The war pulled at the city. Women in factories, empty mills, sons leaving for Europe and the Pacific. Fenway hosted charity games for war bonds. The stands were half full but sincere. A child reportedly scrawled on the scoreboard, "For Ruth, we cried. For Ted, we wait." Return and change. At war's end, Williams returned, thinner, quieter, sharper. Boston stood at the edge of a new era, ready to hope again, but cautiously, as if hope itself were a luxury. The curse was no longer spoken aloud, but in barrooms men still whispered, "One day we'll pay for Ruth." They didn't know. The test of that faith was just ahead. Archival images: Ruth as a Yankee, soldiers cheering at Fenway, Ted Williams smiling in uniform. Legends do not vanish. In Boston, they wait. Ted Williams and the Lonely Excellence, 1946 to 1960. The man who chased perfection in a city that feared to believe. When the war was over, he came back. The boy who could hit better than anyone alive and who would carry the weight of an entire city. After the silence, a city awakens. Boston breathes again. The war has ended. Factories hum once more. Trolleys rattle through Kenmore Square. And standing at the center of that post-war awakening, Ted Williams, the most beautiful swing, the quickest eyes, and the most awkward smile in America. His return is an event unto itself. Newspapers call it Boston's first post-war parade. But beneath the thunderous applause hides something deeper, expectation, not ordinary but messianic. People look to him for deliverance from the curse. The Splendid Splinter. His nickname came from his frame, tall, thin, strung tight as a bow. His swing was geometry, his wrists, execution, his brain, calculation. He studied angles, wind, the flight of the ball. In the dugout, he filled notebooks. He called it the science of hitting. Williams didn't want to be good. He wanted perfect contact. And perfection, he would learn, is a lonely craft. Though adored, he clashed early with Boston's press. Too blunt, too private, not charming enough for the back page. A city that built its heroes out of generosity suddenly had to wrestle with one who spoke only truth. It was friction that would last a lifetime and turn into reverence only after he was gone. The 1946 World Series, the wound that would never heal with Williams back at his peak. The Red Sox won 104 games, their first pennant since 1918. Fenway was pilgrimage again. Old men wearing tin buttons from the last championship, women sewing flags in red and white. Their opponent, the St. Louis Cardinals. The series went 7 games. Williams played through an elbow injury, refused to sit, hit only .200. Disastrous by his standards. Final inning, Game 7. The tying runner cut down at home plate. Enos Slaughter's mad dash. Boston loses. The silence afterward was heavier than any cheer could be. Commentators said you could feel the curse whisper through the ballpark. Williams carried that loss, every day of his career. When asked years later what he regretted most, he said only one more good swing. That's all it would have taken. The city and its hero, a love without harmony. Through the 1950s, Williams becomes a legend in numbers, yet a riddle in spirit. He hits home runs as if routine, but refuses to tip his cap to crowds that boo when he misjudges a fly ball. Boston fans, fierce, loyal, exacting, see themselves in him. Perfectionists who despise pretense. They demand devotion, and so does he. Reporters call him temperamental. Friends know he's sincere. "I'm not a hero," he once said. "I'm a hitter." And that was the truth. Judge him by his mechanics, not his manners. Yet every summer he was still the reason Fenway filled to the rafters. .406, the immortal number. While baseball paraded new idols, Mantle, DiMaggio, Mays, Boston clung to one number, .406, the season of 1941, when he became the last man ever to hit over .400, turned into an act of faith. In every bar hung that figure like a saint's relic. Old men whispered it as a prayer. Even in defeat, they'd say, "Perfection once lived here." Williams himself resented it, as though the city had pinned its hurts to him. They wanted a saint. I just wanted to hit. The years of consistency. From 1947 to 1951, Williams dominated. Batting titles, MVPs, but no world title. Boston was good, never good enough. New York, always New York, kept the throne. Every fan in Boston knew the dual reaction: pride in the best batter alive, sorrow for the empty trophy cases. Then in 1952, the military called again. Williams served in the Korean War, flying combat missions, once guiding a burning jet back to save a wingman. He sacrificed prime years for duty. His courage made him a national hero, but back home, Boston still misunderstood. They saw his halo in uniform, yet questioned his silence in cleats. They admired him deeply and never quite understood him fully. The last swing, age 42. Injured, tired, legend. He announces retirement. Fenway fills to its brim for his final at-bat. 8th inning, one last pitch, crack. The ball rises, disappears over the right field wall. A home run, his last ever. No smile, no tip of the cap. He circles the bases the same way he always did, measured, focused, alone. Writer John Updike would later say in The New Yorker, "Gods do not answer letters." Williams disappears into the tunnel, forever bound to Fenway not as man but as spirit. Legacy, a new standard. After his farewell, the city stayed split about his temperament, but united about his importance. He became the measuring stick for excellence. Every player after him faced the question, can he hit like Ted? The spot where his final home run landed remains a quiet monument. Every fan who steps onto the field feels that echo. He never lifted the curse, but he proved that even beneath it, beauty could exist. The city in the mirror. The 1950s close? Boston modernizes, bridges, universities, industry. Yet Fenway remains the link to a slower, truer rhythm. Each spring, as the stands fill red again, someone still whispers, "For Ted." He was everything we wanted, and everything we feared. Perfection in our imperfect town. Yaz and the Impossible Dream, 1961 to 1978. Hope returns in sunlight and heartbreak. Images. Boston in early spring. Street vendors, college students, children playing stickball in narrow streets. A calm elder voice over the montage. When Ted disappeared from Fenway's sunlight, we thought the game itself had gone with him. But somewhere deep within those old wooden stands, something new began to grow. The legacy of emptiness. The first 3 seasons after Ted Williams are seasons in search of identity. The Red Sox have no face, no voice. Fenway still fills, but out of habit, not out of fire. The Yankees keep winning. Boston looks like a dethroned capital that has forgotten its crown. Then, in 1961, a young outfielder signs his first professional contract, Carl Yastrzemski, a name few can pronounce, but soon it will become the new symbol of hope. The new captain, Carl Yastrzemski Yaz, as fans would call him, son of Polish immigrants raised on Long Island, blue-collar discipline in his veins. Without ever asking, he inherits Ted's legacy. Yastrzemski is physics in motion, not flamboyant, but exact. Every swing a study in rhythm, every catch a lesson in dedication. He is not a poet like Williams, but a craftsman. And that is precisely what Boston needs in a decade of change. The 60s are restless, young, political, impatient. Yaz embodies that era's honesty. No gods, no curses, only a man who shows up every day. Spring 1967, the impossible dream. Season. From the start, that year feels different. By April, the city senses a shift. Boston wins more than it loses. Fenway fills again with song, radios in every cafe hum late into the night. The phrase "impossible dream" comes from the Broadway musical Man of La Mancha. A local journalist borrows it after a streak of miraculous comebacks, and it sticks. It becomes motto and movement. The Red Sox, a team that finished 9th the year before, are suddenly leading the American League. Yastrzemski hits .326, capturing the Triple Crown, batting average, home runs, RBIs, a rarity then, almost mythic now. September 30th, 1967, final game of the season. The Red Sox beat the Twins 5-3, clinch the pennant. Fenway erupts. People climb roofs, strangers embrace, cars choke the streets around Kenmore Square. A fan's cardboard sign reads, "We believe again." The 1967 World Series, the fall of the dream again, St. Louis. Again destiny.
In scoring position. This one went to the outfield, and the Royals tie the game in the bottom.
Pitcher Jim Lonborg throws brilliantly. Yaz plays as if each swing were sacred. But the Cardinals have Bob Gibson, a force whose fastball slices through hope itself. Game 7 ends quietly. St. Louis 7, Boston 2. And yet the stadium claps for minutes. Not for victory, but for gratitude. After decades without belief, Boston finally feels pride without needing a trophy. For the first time since Ruth's sale, the city understands that meaning can exist without winning. Fenway Park in the 1970s, a living museum. The 1970s transformed the world. Vietnam, civil rights, disco, ideologies collide. Fenway remains untouched by time. The smell of roasted peanuts, the creak of wooden seats, the green wall standing guard, unchanged. For many Bostonians, it becomes the only fixed point in a shifting country, a place where grandfathers and grandchildren sing the same songs together. Here, the phrase Red Sox Nation is born, not just a fan base, but a family. 1975, the night of Carlton Fisk. October 25th, 1975. World Series versus the Cincinnati Reds, Game 6, 12th inning. Fenway trembles, air thick with expectation. Catcher Carlton Fisk steps up to bat. Pitch comes. His swing launches the ball high toward left field, curving dangerously foul. Fisk races down the line, arms waving, begging physics to listen. The crowd holds its breath. The ball, fair, home run. Fenway detonates. Eruption, ecstasy, disbelief. Noise so pure it shakes the green monster itself. The ABC camera stays with him, accidentally, recording the frantic arm waving that becomes one of sport's immortal images. Commentator, "We'll remember Carlton Fisk waving that ball forever." Boston wins Game 6 but loses the series the next night. No matter. That single swing feels like redemption. For 1 second, Boston wins everything it ever lost. The heroes of the in-between. The 70s produced their own folklore. Jim Rice, powerful and smooth. Dwight Evans, a defensive genius. Fred Lynn, Rookie of the Year and MVP in 1975. Every summer, Fenway is full again. While the city fights recessions, within these walls, old-fashioned joy survives. Even losses turn ritualistic. Fans joke about misery as inheritance. We're Boston. Tragedy is our natural habitat. Yaz, the working-class king. Through the decade, Yaz remains more than a player, a laborer with a bat. Season after season of sweat and restraint, never theatrical. His jersey soaked, his hands scarred. In him, the Boston crowd sees itself, weary, loyal, uncompromising. No promise of glory, only persistence. He retires with 3,419 hits, countless ovations, and respect carved into every beam of Fenway. When he finally hangs up his bat in 1983, a banner in the stands reads, "For Ted we mourned, for Yaz we thanked. End of a dream, birth of a myth." After 1978, the infamous Bucky Dent game where a simple fly sailed over the green monster and shattered Boston's hearts. The Red Sox returned to their old mantra of love versus pain. But something is different now. The city has changed. Fenway is no longer just a ballpark. It's the heart of the community. Children playing in its shadow, couples marrying in its concourse, generations marking the passage of time in innings. The impossible dream years teach Boston a final lesson. Hope is more valuable than glory. Since that time, Boston knows. Hope is not an emotion here. Hope is our habit. Curses, collapses, and hope deferred, 1979 to 2003, when a city kept believing through heartbreak. There are cities that win, and there are cities that endure. Boston, it endured. The shadow of 1978. The ghost of the Bucky Dent game lingered for decades. Dent's improbable home run over the Green Monster was no ordinary loss. It was a symbol, a reminder that the curse was never gone, only sleeping. The 1980s began with a sense of unfinished business. Yastrzemski, now older and fading, became a bridge between generations. Fenway Park creaked with age, yet every spring it still smelled of hope. New blood, new promises. Early in the 80s, Boston invested in youth. Jim Rice remained the power bat, Dwight Evans the defensive soul, and a young shortstop from the Dominican Republic, Julio Franco. The world outside moved faster. Cable TV, tabloid headlines, the Yankees turning into a financial giant. Boston fought not with wallets but with character. The city itself struggled, factories closing, unemployment rising, yet Fenway stayed a place where people still spoke the same language. Small hopes, always renewed. 1986, the year it all came back. At last, the Red Sox looked ready to break the curse. A team led by Roger Clemens, Jim Rice, Dwight Evans, and Bill Buckner storms to the American League pennant. Fenway vibrates. Once again, Boston whispers the forbidden words, World Series. Opponent, the New York Mets. The series would become legend for all the wrong reasons. Game 6, Boston leads 5-3, 1 out away from heaven. In bars, people start counting, champagne chills in the locker room, then 2 singles, a wild pitch, the tie, and that grounder, routine, gentle, destined for first base. It rolls through Bill Buckner's legs, the Mets score, win Game 6, then Game 7. The curse breathes again. Boston freezes. Buckner, who played hurt, becomes the scapegoat of mythology, hate mail, threats. He moves out of the city he tried to serve. Decades later, in 2008, he returns to Fenway and receives a standing ovation lasting minutes. Forgiveness arrives late, but loud. A city learns how deeply its own myths can wound its people. The rivalry with the Yankees, a spiritual war. By the late 80s, every Boston-New York series feels biblical. It is more than sport, it's ideology. New York flaunts wealth and swagger. Boston fights for honor and belonging. Slogans appear on shirts. Any team but the Yankees. Children learn before they spell that pinstripes are blasphemy. 1999, ALCS. Pedro Martinez, the Dominican ace, burns through lineups. Pure brilliance. And still, fate sides with New York. Boston fans begin to suspect the baseball gods take pleasure in their suffering. Fenway in the 1990s, a time capsule of faith. By now, Fenway Park is a living museum. Elsewhere, new stadiums rise of glass and chrome. Fenway stays wood, steel, and nostalgia. Every beam creaks, but no one dares replace it. Harvard students share bleachers with dock workers. Hand-painted signs read, "Keep the faith." The curse is no longer a curse, it's an identity. The new generation, Clemens, Nomar, and Pedro Roger Clemens dominates the late 80s, 20 strikeout games, record after record. He seems the embodiment of power. Then he leaves to the Yankees, the ultimate betrayal. Next comes Nomar Garciaparra, shortstop, graceful, charismatic, almost poetic in motion. The crowd chants, "Nomar!" Show footage of fans saying or chanting this with every swing. And finally, Pedro Martinez, 5'11", 80 kilos, arm of fire. He becomes the new face of Boston, underdog, fiery, brilliant. At the 1999 All-Star Game at Fenway, Pedro strikes out 5 straight batters. Fans chant, "Pedro, Pedro," until the grandstands quake. But no titles follow. They lose to luck, to weather, to mad hops of the ball. The curse remains. The fans remain louder. The myth becomes religion. By 2000, the curse of the Bambino is less a story than a faith. Books, documentaries, movies, even The Simpsons join the chorus. All America pities Boston. In cemeteries, families plant miniature Red Sox flags next to names of those who never got to see it. In bars hang signs, "Dear God, let me see one before I die." Fenway becomes a destination for pilgrims. People travel cross-country to see one game in the House of Heartbreak. They sing not for joy, but for endurance. 2003, the fault line of faith, Red Sox versus Yankees, American League Championship Series. Game 7, Yankee Stadium. Boston leads 5-2 in the 8th. Cautious optimism, never confidence. Then a name burns itself into history. Aaron Boone, 9th inning, tied game. Knuckleballer, Tim Wakefield throws the first pitch, crack, ball soars into the night. Walk-off home run. New York wins. The Yankees celebrate. Boston screams in one voice. A journalist describes it, a cathedral of heartbreak. Players weep in the hallway. Fans don't burn jerseys. They grab them closer. Everyone knows, this cannot go on forever. Something has to break. Next year, it will. The night before deliverance. On the eve of 2004, faith seems spent. But deep inside Fenway, the lights still burn. Groundskeepers cutting the grass, old men mumbling, "Next year, always next year." It's not sarcasm, it's ritual. Boston knows that miracles only exist for those who wait long enough. The 2004 miracle, reversing the curse. 86 years of waiting, rewritten in 4 nights. Some victories are earned, others are prayed into being. Context: a new build, a new belief. After the trauma of 2003, Boston rebuilds its faith. A 30-year-old general manager, Theo Epstein, a Boston native, lifelong fan, takes charge. The city senses in him not just analytics, but empathy, a man who understands what it means to carry history like an anchor. Alongside manager Terry Francona, he constructs a team grounded in character over superstardom. David Ortiz, joyful, lethal swing. Manny Ramirez, talented, unpredictable. Curt Schilling, veteran pitcher with iron resolve. Johnny Damon, rock star with flowing hair. Jason Varitek, catcher, leader, and quiet commander. Their motto, cowboy up. Work, laugh, believe that any swing could cut through a curse. Boston becomes not just good, but magnetic. Yet the story demands familiar villains. The New York Yankees. The ALCS, the series of all series. October 17, 2004. Boston trails 0-3 in the American League Championship Series. No team in Major League history has ever come back from such a deficit. Even the bravest fans sit in bars in somber quiet. Across America, broadcasters prepare obituaries for Boston's season. The Yankees feel inevitable, as if the ghost of Ruth himself is dressing in pinstripes. But this Red Sox team is allergic to statistics. They possess something rarer, faith without expectation. Game 4, the steel midnight at Fenway. Yankees lead 4-3 in the 9th. Closer, Mariano Rivera, almost untouchable, takes the mound. First baseman Kevin Miller steps in and smirks, "Don't let us win tonight." A phrase destined for the history books. Pinch runner Dave Roberts takes his lead off first. Everyone knows he's going. Rivera throws once, twice, and then Roberts springs. The throw to second, safe. Fenway erupts, sound like thunder underwater. Moments later, Ortiz launches a walk-off home run in the 12th. Series, Yankees 3-1. On paper, a small shift. In soul, an earthquake. Game 5, endless night. The next evening, 14 innings, over 5.5 hours, exhaustion, elation, courage. Again Ortiz, a walk-off single. Fans linger until dawn. Bars refuse to shut their TVs. For the first time in modern memory, Boston breathes without sign. Whispers become chant. We're not done. Game 6, the bloody sock, Yankee Stadium. Pitcher Curt Schilling takes the mound with ankle tendons stitched and glued, a spot of blood seeping through his white sock. soon one of sport's most iconic images. Every pitch pain, every inning defiance. He holds New York to a single run. Boston wins again, series tied 3-3. The curse, once a fog, is starting to lift, burned away by the heat of one man's will. This is no longer sport, it's scripture. Game 7, The Deliverance, October 20th, 2004. Bronx lights blinding, crowd restless. Boston steps onto that field knowing no one has ever come this far. Second inning, Johnny Damon hits a grand slam. The sound, pure exorcism. A few innings later, another homer, 10-3 final. When the last ball sinks into Varitek's mitt, Boston doesn't celebrate at first. It freezes, too stunned to believe. Then comes the roar. The Boston Red Sox have won the American League pennant. 86 years melt into tears and laughter. In 4 nights, history changes its mind. The World Series, the end of the curse opponent, the St. Louis Cardinals, the same team that broke hearts in 1946 and 1967. But this time, there is no drama. Boston sweeps 4-0. Night of October 27th, 2004. Full moon over Missouri. Closer, Keith Foulke fields the final grounder, flips to first. Doug Mientkiewicz squeezes the ball. Silence, then explosion. No curse, no more waiting. Only 86 years of grief releasing into one collective shout. The release Boston erupts. Sirens blend with church bells. People embrace strangers. Inside Fenway, thousands stay until morning. The old signs reading "Wait till next year" are torn down, replaced with "Next year is now." A man in Dorchester drives to his grandfather's grave and whispers, "You can rest now, Pop." The parade of closure. 2 days later, 3 million people fill the streets. Amphibious duck boats float down the Charles River carrying the team and the trophy. Ortiz yells, Damon throws balls into the crowd, Varitek weeps. The air smells of beer and redemption. It's not even a sports parade. It's a city saying thank you to itself. Every city celebrates victory. Only Boston understands deliverance. The city in silence. When the noise finally subsides, streets remain carpeted with red and blue confetti. Fenway stands empty but peaceful. For the first time since 1918, Boston feels whole. The curse is dead. People no longer curse Ruth. They thank him, teacher of patience. In 4 nights, they reversed 86 years and taught an entire city that faith was never foolish. From curse to culture, 2005 to 2012, when winning became memory and memory became meaning. Text in screen. After 86 years, the curse was gone, but even deliverance requires maintenance. The new era, the freed city, text in screen. After 2004, Boston is almost unrecognizably happy. Where once cynicism echoed, now rings pride. The towers around Kenmore Square drape giant banners, world champions. The Red Sox shift from therapy to culture. Streets receive player nicknames. Babies are christened Ortiz and Manny. Bars hang photographs of fans crying into radios. Fenway Park welcomes record crowds, not only locals but pilgrims from every corner of New England, arriving as if to a shrine. People come not just to cheer, but to bear witness, to say they were there. 2005. The season of gratitude. The team returns to the playoffs and falls early, but not a trace of bitterness. A season ticket holder sums it up. We got what we never dared to ask for. Everything now is bonus. In cafes, people trade stories of where they were when the curse ended. Boston learns to see itself no longer as tragic, but tenacious. Sport becomes a lesson in resilience. 2007, the second ascension. The Red Sox proved 2004 was no fluke. With Josh Beckett, Dustin Pedroia, Kevin Youkilis, Manny Ramirez, and David Ortiz, they dominate the season. Fenway feels younger, electric. Its old brick walls vibrate with modern sound.
This jersey that we wear today, it doesn't say Red Sox, it says Boston.
In October, they capture another World Series, sweeping Colorado. 2 titles in 4 years, what older generations used to call a fantasy. After the final out, Pedroia tells a camera, We don't play for ghosts, we play for everyone who used to. Fenway Park, the living legend. By 2010, Fenway is a paradox, older than ever, yet more alive than ever. New stairways, fresh paint, restored seats, but nothing, no glass, no LED screens, dares touch its soul. Every evening, the 8th inning erupts into Sweet Caroline again. Fans sing with childlike enthusiasm, arms around strangers. The song is no longer cheer music. It's ritual, a reminder that singing together was once a way to pray. 2011, the new letdown glory turns to complacency. Too many endorsements, not enough grit. A spectacular September collapse revives old trauma. Headlines read, "From curse to complacency. Manager Terry Francona departs. Fans don't rage, they worry. They know laziness is deadlier than bad luck. Boston longs again for humility, the virtue that once broke the curse. The rise of identity, parallel to sport, the city itself evolves. Tech firms move into old fish warehouses. Immigrant families blend with multi-generation Yankee haters. The Red Sox become the bridge between old and new Boston. Children in Somali neighborhoods wear red caps. Harvard students decorate graduation robes with the pair of socks emblem. The logo is language now. One word, belonging. David Ortiz, the voice of the new Boston Big Papi, grows into a leader beyond box scores. Not just for home runs, but for openness, humor, pride.
Big Papi! The grand slam!
He speaks the dialects of both street and tradition. When asked in 2010 what Boston means to him, he answers, "You help your neighbor. You work hard. You never, ever quit." That's Boston. Ortiz becomes the team's conscience, linking eras, from Schilling's bloody sock to the smile of a new generation. 2012, the fracture before rebirth. Everything falls apart again. Injuries, arguments, loss. Manager Bobby Valentine can't steady the ship. For the first time in years, Fenway seats lie bare. Yet this is not despair. It is a pause for breath. Boston has learned that falling is part of the cycle. Veteran fans half smile. We've been worse. We've been cursed. They sense something, a new seed within the ruins of 2012. Once we were cursed by losing. Now we are defined by rising. The Boston Strong era, 2013 to 2018, when a team became its city. Images. An ordinary spring morning in April 2013. People laugh, walking toward Copley Square for the Boston Marathon. Children wear tiny red caps. The sound of cheering and music fills the air. Until silence, sirens, confusion, smoke. Sometimes the test doesn't come on the field. Sometimes it walks right into the street. The marathon bombing. The day everything shattered. April 15th, 2013. Two explosions near the marathon finish line steal lives, wound hundreds, and shock millions. The city that had rebuilt itself through steel and pride falls still. Sirens scream. Boylston Street lies under haze. Heroes appear in everyday clothes. Runners, spectators, police, nurses. In the aching days that follow, grief hardens into something deeper than anger. Care. Boston closes its ranks. A single phrase rises across windows, banners, and caps, Boston Strong. It isn't a slogan, it's a recovered identity. Fenway Park as a place of healing. 4 days later, Fenway Park opens again, the stands half full, hesitant. People don't know whether to cheer or weep. Then David Ortiz takes the microphone. His voice doesn't tremble, it booms. This is our fucking city. And nobody's gonna dictate our freedom. The crowd erupts. Television censors panic. Boston understands. That one line becomes as legendary as any swing of his bat. In that moment, the Red Sox stop being just athletes. They become guardians of a wounded city. The 2013 season, playing for more than themselves players, sew Be Strong patches onto their jerseys. A sense of purpose spreads through the clubhouse. They play not for records, but for recovery. Every win feels like a bandage. After games, they sign shirts for survivors, invite families to the ballpark. Across the city, small Red Sox appear in shop windows, on lampposts, in school hallways. The skyline itself glows blue and red, one tower illuminated as a symbol of unity. The road to the World Series. Through the grief, the Red Sox play brilliantly, Ortiz in MVP form, Koji Uehara closing games with the precision of a pianist, John Lester steady as stone. They win the AL East. In the ALCS against Detroit, Ortiz hits a grand slam that turns Fenway into a lighthouse of noise, a moment instantly compared to Carlton Fisk in 1975. Every home run feels like a healing pulse, and the city, still scarred, sings louder with each inning. World Series 2013, the wounds heal opponent. The St. Louis Cardinals. Again, the circle repeats, but this time the rhythm is different. Every heart in Fenway beats as one. Game 6. Boston leads the series 3-2. Pitcher John Lackey on the mound. Bottom of the ninth, strikeout. Fenway erupting not with madness, but with tears. Players hoist village-sized Boston Strong flags. Ortiz lifts the trophy as though it belongs to every person in the city. David Ortiz, the street's hero, Big Papi, isn't just the series MVP, he becomes Boston itself. His grin plastered on murals from Roxbury to Cambridge. Kids call him Tio Papi. He's immigrant and father, leader and neighbor in one swing of the bat. When he retires in 2016, the farewell takes over the city, more confession than ceremony. It felt like Boston saying goodbye to its conscience. Steady after the storm. After 2013, the team cycles through good and bad years, but the culture holds. Fenway is renovated yet unchanged in spirit, still a chapel of shared memory. Each season honors first responders, veterans, marathon survivors. Ceremonies of mourning become traditions of strength. The Red Sox no longer represent just competition, they stand for the city's way of healing. Not by silence, but by song. 2018, the calm of perfection. 5 years after the bombing, a new generation rises under manager Alex Cora. Mookie Betts, J.D. Martinez, Chris Sale, Xander Bogaerts, talent mixed with humility. They win 108 games, the highest total in franchise history. They play with effortless confidence and Ortiz's inherited joy. In October, they sweep through the postseason. World Series, again versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, a 4-1 victory. Boston's 4th title in 15 years. The celebration feels different now, wiser, gentler. An elderly woman dances among students and says, "They used to teach us patience. Now they teach us gratitude." Boston Strong, more than a motto. Today the words decorate fire engines, hospitals, university walls. Boston Strong is no longer about rebounding from tragedy. It's how the city defines itself. When one falls, all bend to lift. The Red Sox carry those values onto the field each season, through moments of silence, charity events, simple acts of kindness as ritual as batting practice. Ortiz tosses a ball to laughing kids. Above the green monster, a flag waves, "Be strong." The voices of 40,000 fans sing Sweet Caroline, echoing through a night that belongs to everyone. We won titles, but what we really built was each other. The Modern Sox, 2019 to present. Tradition in a changing world. Dynasties end, but identity, if guarded, does not. A new era begins. After the triumph of 2018, Boston stands atop the game once more. They have become the model franchise, winning, profitable, adored. But greatness always brings transition. Stars depart. Mookie Betts, MVP, fan favorite, symbol of youth, traded to Los Angeles. The city mourns, but understands the economics of modern baseball. Analytics, payroll, rebuilding. The front office changes again. New executives, new philosophies, new formulas written in data instead of superstition. Boston enters the 21st century fully, its faith now paired with algorithms. Fenway Park in the digital age. Through constant renovation, Fenway keeps its paradox, both museum and machine. Beneath the wooden beams hide fiber cables and high-speed cameras tracking every pitch. Now sensors measure launch angle and spin rate. Yet the creaking bleachers, the narrow concourses, the smell of beer and roasted peanuts remain the same. From above, drones capture the same field Ruth, Williams, Yaz, and Ortiz once walked, proof that a living monument can age without aging out. Each off-season, city workers polish the copper railings, preserving them not for nostalgia but continuity. For every fan entering those gates for the first time, the park offers a handshake between centuries. The new generation. Out of the turnover rises a new core. Rafael Devers, young and fearless. Xander Bogaerts, quiet and disciplined. Tristan Casas, patient and raw, faces of an era built on youth again. They play under brighter lights, heavier expectations, and constant analysis by millions of voices online. The pressure that once came only from local newspapers now streams in real time from around the world. Yet they learned the same lesson their predecessors knew. In Boston, effort defines character more than outcome. The 2019 afterglow. The 2019 season still shimmers from the memory of 2018, a hangover of success. The team is competitive, the atmosphere festive. Tourists flood Fenway every summer, many holding signs that read, "I waited my whole life for this." Even when October ends without champagne, fans stand and clap after the final out. They've remembered how fragile Dominion can be. 2020, silence and perspective. Then the pandemic. Fenway's gates close, seats covered in tarp, the scoreboard frozen. For the first time since World War II, no roar, no songs, only the hum of empty refrigerators under the bleachers. Yet the stadium finds another mission. It hosts blood drives, food banks, later vaccination clinics. The oldest park in baseball turns into a civic shelter once more, just as it did in wartime. When baseball finally returns, the first cheer is not for a home run, but for reunion. Reconnection. 2021 brings new manager Alex Cora back from suspension, older and humbled. His players respond, unexpectedly reaching the ALCS. Fenway throbs again, this time with cautious optimism. The crowd is younger, more diverse. The songs sound the same, but the accents have changed. It is still Boston, just larger. The modern fan, Red Sox Nation online. Outside the park, loyalty has gone digital. Red Sox Nation stretches across 200 countries through live streams, late-night games, and endless scrolling feeds. From Tokyo to London, the chant "Let's Go Red Sox" echoes far beyond Boston. But inside Fenway Park, this isn't just fandom, it's identity. On game day, fans arrive hours before first pitch, not just to watch, but to prepare. Jerseys worn for decades, caps passed down through generations. For many, this isn't a night out. It's a tradition they've lived their entire lives. Red Sox fans are known for something rare. They don't just support the team, they understand it. They react to every pitch, every count, every small detail others would miss. A full count feels like tension in the air. A foul ball gets a collective groan. A single hit can lift an entire section to its feet. They live the game, pitch by pitch. During the game, the energy never disappears. It moves, it builds, it waits. A chant begins somewhere in the crowd. "Let's go Red Sox." Let the stadium chant be heard here. Crowd chant audio fades in, and like a wave, it spreads through the stadium. Not forced, not scripted, just thousands of voices instinctively joining in. In the seventh inning, everyone stands. No exceptions. "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" isn't a performance. Let the stadium chant be heard here. It's participation. And then, the moment every fan knows is coming. The eighth inning. As Sweet Caroline begins, something shifts. People who have never met turn toward each other, singing, shouting, laughing. "So good, so good, so good." Let the stadium chant be heard here. It's loud, it's messy, it's real. This is what makes Red Sox fans different. They don't need prompts. They don't wait for entertainment. They create it. They stay invested, no matter the score. They carry history with them, from heartbreak to triumph. And you can feel it in every reaction, every chant, every moment of silence before a pitch. At Fenway, the game isn't just on the field. It's in the stands, in the voices, in the rituals, in the way strangers become one crowd for 9 innings. And even as Red Sox Nation grows across the world, this behavior, this energy, remains unchanged. Because being a Red Sox fan isn't just about watching baseball. It's about belonging to something bigger than yourself. The philosophy of now. Modern baseball worships efficiency. Boston still believes in emotion. Data builds teams. Devotion fills stands. The Red Sox attempt to balance the two. Machines to measure success, people to measure meaning. That tension, the push and pull between progress and poetry, is the modern team's identity. They wear it as naturally as the two Red Sox on their chest. Fenway's place in the city. Around Fenway, the balance between Old Boston and New Boston plays out in brick and glass. The old Irish pubs still clang with brass taps. Across the street, biotech offices glow with neon. Every game day, those worlds join at the turnstiles, lab coats, longshoremen, students, lifelong fans. A cross-section of the city squeezed into one ancient rectangle of green. No matter how Boston changes, Fenway remains the single place where everyone shares one dialect: cheering. Legacy of belief. Over more than a century, the Red Sox have taught the city to accept both triumph and heartbreak as equal parts of love. The modern team inherits that mindset. The numbers may fluctuate, but expectation never fades. Each new lineup begins under the same unseen banner: play hard, honor the story. Because this franchise is no longer simply about baseball, it's about time, how it moves, stops, and loops back through 9 innings. The eternal green. Fenway has stood since 1912. It has seen war, pandemic, victory, and loss, and still, each spring, the gates open as if for the first time. From Ruth to Williams, from Yaz to Ortiz, to the children now wearing their numbers. Each generation steps into the same light, onto the same patch of emerald. Boston may evolve, but the soul of Fenway does not. It remains what it has always been, a small diamond of faith cut into the heart of an old city, still beating, still singing. Sweet Caroline, so good, so good, so good. The Boston Red Sox, the soul of Fenway. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe. There are many more untold and fascinating historical stories coming. And tell me in the comments which team you want to see next.